The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Morning, everyone. Apologize, we were having some technical issues getting into the webinar here this morning. So we are up and live now, should be up and live now. So everybody should see our screen with the agenda, and this broadcast should be going across. So it is 7 after, and once again, I apologize for being late here. We will get started so we can keep this on track. Those of you that are new to our webinar, and this is the first time you've been on the Team Leader webinar, there is a chat column. If you have any questions, having issues, simply type into that chat column. We will take some breaks along the way, and when we do, we'll answer any questions that come about. First of all, I guess, to get this started, welcome to the first Team Leader webinar of 2018, which sounds weird to say 2018, but we're here already. I've got some information to share with you guys, and we've got some different presenters. So let me give you a quick rundown of what the agenda is going to look like today, as you can see on your screen. I've got some market data that I want to present to everybody and talk about. Also have got a concept of a vesting program we've been talking about for a little while. I want to kind of throw out there to everybody and then give you some disclaimers on where we're at with it. I also have got some recruiting end of the year information to share with you, and then one other project we're working on I want to throw out to everybody. So we have a handful of things that aren't on the agenda I'll bring up in the beginning section here. I'm going to turn over then to Ryan. He's got a couple updates both on the education side and with the Team Leader training going on he wants to talk about. Got Heather Dotzauer with me here. She's going to talk about awards in 1099, all the fun end of the year stuff we've got shaking. Jennifer Wagner is going to join us. She'll talk about the end of the year relocation numbers that will be coming out here shortly. We also have Jason in the room. He's going to talk about the end of the year with State of Affiliated and what we've got going on for the awards banquets coming up. And then we've got Monica McKillop going to be joining us on HR and give a quick update on some technicalities on some status of change forms. So we've got a lot to cover. As you guys know, this webinar is always scheduled from 10 till noon. If we can get through all the content early, we'll get you out of here, but for sure have a hard stop at 12 noon. So that's the game plan. A lot of fun stuff to cover. I want to do a quick technical check to make sure we've got everybody on and no issues there. Any problems we've got going on there, Jason?
Nobody has said anything
okay.
that they can't hear us or anything.
Okay.
So.
All right, good. Wonderful. So we should be live. Let me give you guys a quick update on market stats of where we're at with stuff right now. I am not going to give you all the juicy details because I want to save some of this for State of Affiliated on how things finished with the end of the year. But there is some interesting stuff that kind of played out at the end of the year that I think is worth sharing numbers-wise. As we closed out 2017, I think we all felt it was a good year. 2017 was one of those solid years in real estate. I think it's looking back, it was kind of interesting because it was a really good year, but not quite as good as 2016. And for any of you guys that pull up market stats or see your statewide numbers on stuff, I think you'll know and you'll see 2017 for almost all of our markets was a really good year, but it was slightly behind what we saw in 2016. I think it was also a really interesting year because it was a challenging year from the standpoint of buyers out there trying to purchase properties and a lot of frustrations in the marketplace. We saw a lot of buyers that were out there writing on multiple properties, not getting them, getting frustrated, taking themselves off the market, and then maybe waiting a month or two, getting back into the market and going to purchase. So I felt like we all worked twice, maybe 3 times as hard as we did in 2016, trying to get deals together. And once again, although it was a very good year, our numbers were just slightly behind from a market perspective. I think we saw slightly behind what we saw in 2016. And I think most of your agents felt that when they're out there in the marketplace. I actually was just looking at some market stats for a very large MLS in the state of Wisconsin, and I think these market stats were interesting and summed up a lot of the market frustrations we saw in 2017. Sales, 2017 versus 2016, were down 1%. So kind of what I was just talking about, it was a really good year, but just slightly behind what we saw in 2016. Yet if you take, in this particular MLS, if you take a look at those same numbers compared to 2005, which really represented the high water mark before the downturn of the real estate market, in 2007, we were up 1%. So 2017 numbers are slightly behind 16 and slightly ahead of the high water mark before the Great Recession, if you will. Median sales price, 2017 versus 16 in this particular MLS was up 7%, which I think is kind of a common theme we saw across the markets. Sales kind of being flat or slightly below, but median sales price being up kind of in that 6 to 10% range. So in this MLS, once again, 17 versus 16 was up 7%, but up 25% compared to 2005. So if you think about 2005 being this great year in real estate, 2017 was up 25% compared to the median sales price back in 05, which I found very interesting. And then the kicker that we constantly have been talking about when you look at listing inventory, 2007 in this MLS, once again, I'm referencing this MLS, 2017 versus 2016 was down 28% in listing inventory year over year. And I think that's a common theme we've talked about, and we sound like a broken record, but almost every single MLS, almost every single state, we've been battling this ongoing inventory issue. And in this MLS, it was down 28%, 2017 versus 16. And if you go back to 05, listing inventory was off 76%. So if you think about this year, this banner year of 2005 being this really, really strong year, we're actually off 76% in active listing inventory to that really great year. And I think that sums up a little bit of the marketplace we saw in 17. Buyers were out there, they were active, interest rates were low, they wanted to do stuff, but there just was not enough inventory to have the kind of sales that we probably should have had if we would have had more inventory out there. And this is obviously nothing new. We talk about this all the time. All the meetings we've had throughout 17 was the demand out there, but not quite the inventory. We also talk about the shortage of new construction, which we still continue to face just about everywhere. And I think will continue to be some of the challenges that we faced in 2018. Hopefully we'll see more inventory start to hit the market. Hopefully we'll start to see some new construction. But we have to kind of know that that's not just going to happen at the snap of a finger. I will share some numbers for affiliated with you guys, as I always like to do. I'm not going to share everything with you, as we've got State of Affiliated coming up in a couple weeks, and I want to save a little bit of the fun on this. But it was another fantastic year across the Century 21 affiliated platform. And although I just referenced some of the market trends we saw when we look at statewide data and individual MLS data, we continue to outperform what's happening, at least on the national level, and what we see in all the states we're in and almost all the localized markets. Some interesting numbers for you guys. So this is Century 21 affiliated. Us as an organization, as we closed out 2017 versus 2016, we were up 13% in overall agent population, 17 versus 16. Although we saw this tightening of the listing inventory across all the platforms, we as a company, all of you guys, were actually up 5% in overall listing inventory 2017 versus 2016. So once again, that's a great number as your agents are going out in these listing appointments and talking about market trends and the tightening of the inventory out there, but saying as an overall organization, we're actually up 5% in our listing inventory. I think it's a great message and great for those listing presentations. Our overall average sale price was up 6%. So when we talk about median sales price or average sale price across the different states, our average sale price was right on kind of target of the market trends. We were up 6%, 17 versus 16. And then the big kicker, and one that obviously we're all extremely proud of, we're up 19% in closed activity 2017 versus 2016. So well beyond what has happened in market trends across the states and on the National Association realtors numbers, we continue to outperform those marketplaces. So kudos to all of you, kudos to the agent base that's out there, and I think also great numbers to arm ourselves with as our agents are going out there and trying to win listing activity, and telling them as an organization we continue to outperform the marketplace. Hopefully helps our agents win those listing battles when they're out there in competition. So overall, congrats guys, great year. I want to share some numbers with you at State of Affiliated on how we ranked in the Century 21 system, and all really good stuff that we'll be able to present there. One other last number I want to share with you because I think it's a really great milestone number, and I will share this at State of Affiliated. We were shooting for a goal of closing over 20,000 transactions in 2017. I'm really proud to say breaking the record for the most closed transactions ever by us, and in the history of Century 21. We hit our goal. In fact, I think we crossed over that 20,000 mark right at the end of December, and the final figures that we ended up closing out for total closed transactions in 2017 was 20,038.9. There's some referrals in there, so that's where we got to the 0.9. But it is just such a great accomplishment by all of you. So congratulations, and thank you for all the hard work you and your agents have put in to hit that milestone. So a great year, and obviously things we'll talk more about at the State of Affiliate events that we got coming up here in a couple weeks. I also wanted to talk about some trends going on in the industry, not necessarily with us as a company or in the market, but what's happening on the Realogy level. And a lot of you guys have either got emails, saw things in Inman, have heard chatter about really a lot of change taking place in the Realogy brand. For those team leaders that are new on this call and new to the Century 21 system, Realogy is the parent company that owns Century 21. They own Coldwell Banker, they own ERA, Better Homes and Gardens. It's the parent company to all of our service brands. They also own Cartus Relocation. And there has been a lot of things kind of shaking out, some in which we anticipated, some in which I was surprised about. But Realogy overall as an organization, Richard Smith, who had been in that role as CEO of Realogy for, 20 some years, stepped down in 2017, and they named a new CEO for the Realogy organization, which in my opinion is a really, really good thing. I think it will bring some fresh perspective to the parent company. Prior to that, John Payton took over Alex Perillo's role as president of the Realogy organization. And then just recently, they did a little bit of house cleaning. They named a new CEO of Cartus. And the active CEO actually stepped down. That was kind of in the makings. He is now sitting on as a consultant for Cartus. They announced an interim CEO and actively looking for a long-term CEO for the Cartus network. I do think that is a good thing for Cartus. And Scott Becker, who is the interim CEO for Cartus, is actually a friend of ours. He used to work for Century 21 New Millennium before he took on a role with Cartus. Him and I have actually had some conversations since he's taken over. So I think that all bodes really well for us as a company, having a close relationship with someone who's in the highest position in the Cartus network. The Coldwell Banker Residential CEO was also replaced over the last month, and I don't believe they've named a new CEO in that particular role. And then all of you guys know that the actual president and CEO of Century 21, Nick Bailey, came into the role for Rick Davidson over the last 6 months. So those are 5 major top-down roles within the Realogy network that has changed in the better part of a year. So I think it's a really good thing. Some people might look at that and go, okay, well, there's a lot of change, and change is scary. But I think for where we're at right now in the industry, where we're at as an organization, those changes are really a good sign. I think they've put some extremely capable, strong people in those positions, guys like Nick, who come with a very diverse background from Zillow to Remax to Century 21. The new gentleman who took over for Realogy, the new CEO, is coming from a technology background, which I think will be very interesting for the Realogy network and for our brand specifically. John Payton was coming from the hospitality world in the technology space. So I just think a lot of very smart people are taking over from the top down at the Relogy side and the brand side. And I think it's going to bode well for us in 2018 and moving forward. One other thing that I wanted to make mention of that all of you guys should have gotten an email on yesterday having to do with the brand. They came out with a really cool recruiting, retention, kind of vision video. Some of you saw this at the Century 21 Leadership Conference last year. They could not release it right away because there was some copyright issues. They had some famous people that were in that video that they had to kind of either get permission or remove. So they adjusted the video. They just sent it out for use yesterday. We will send the video out as a recap to this email as well. We're going to play it, but there's some issues in the platform they have versus our platform to show it today. But we will send it out to everybody, and it's free for you guys to go out there and start using. I think it's a great piece to show in your next business meeting. I think it's a really great piece to throw on social media and a great piece to put out there for your recruiting efforts. It talks about agents of change and talks about kind of gives some teasers on the logo changes. And it's just a really hip, cool new video that they've got. So please use it, and we will send it out as a recap to all of this as well. I think that rounds out everything I want to talk about from a market update perspective. Let me talk a little bit for a few minutes on this vesting retirement program we're going to be putting together. And I'm going to try to keep this high level because we are working with some attorneys on making sure that we structure this 100% properly from the get-go before we roll it out. But let me give you the genesis of this program. We've been talking about this for quite a while. Tom and I, really have had multiple conversations. Tom, Adam, and I have all kind of talked about this and whiteboarded it. It was kind of a brainchild of some competition in the marketplace, pitching the idea of having some retirement planning for agents. And we thought about this. We thought it was a really smart idea, but we wanted to make sure that we did it right. And we did it so it could be a benefit to the agents from a retention standpoint and a benefit to you guys as team leaders from a recruiting standpoint. And the concept of it is, and once again, I'm going to use kind of general thoughts on this because I don't want to get into a ton of details until we get the legal side of this worked out. But the concept of it is we would create let's call it a Century 21 affiliate agent retirement plan in which an agent could start putting away dollars per transaction. And for the use of an example, let's just say an agent says, I'm going to put away $100 per transaction in 2018. We would say we will match up to, as an example, $100 per transaction, not to exceed an annual amount. Let's just say it's $2,000. So the agent can put away those dollars per transaction and then cap out an annual amount throughout the year. And then we would basically store those dollars into a secure account, an escrow account, and those dollars then would vest over time. And the agent would have the ability to pull dollars or vest dollars over a 10-year period. And our dollars would basically start vesting after year 5 and then vest all the way out and be fully vested after years 10. So the idea of it is it would give the agents basically an avenue to store dollars and actually have dollar for dollar matches from the company that would vest over a period of time. And then those dollars would be seen basically as a retirement plan for an agent. And if an agent was ever in a position or a thought of wanting to leave, obviously it's kind of a golden handcuff that if they left, they would be giving up dollars that they stored in this retirement account. However, if they stayed with us, those dollars would vest and would give them an incentive, an extra incentive to stay with the organization. I think it also ends up being that recruiting pitch of, I don't really know many companies, if any companies, that are structuring it the particular way we want to, that gives a true company match on a retirement plan on closed transactions. So as you guys are out there in the field and you're giving your recruiting pitch, this is another feather in your cap to recruit to agents with. There's some very strong stipulations on a 409A tax deferred comp scenario. That's why we had to get legal involved with this whole thing. We need to make sure that we comply with all of that. We're working with a law firm here in Madison. We vetted most of this through, but we still have some details to work out. Our goal is to have those details worked out this month and actually have a viable program we can roll out in February. What we'll probably do is create an amendment to the ICA that states agents have the ability to enroll in it. And then to enroll in it, they basically would just sign this amendment. And then we will create a portion of SkySlope that basically is a part of the transaction worksheet, if you will, that will give the ability to mark on there if they want to enroll in the vesting program and how much on a transactional basis they want to put away for the program. We will also, once we get the details set, we will host a separate webinar specifically on this vesting program, so I can show all of you guys the forms. I'll verbally walk you through the process and how to pitch it, and then we'll show you how the SkySlope portion of it will work. We also have marketing kind of creating a one-page flyer that you guys can use in your recruiting presentations or in simply dealing with any of your existing agents on how the platform will work. I think it's going to be a really cool program. It's one, once again, we've been talking about for probably the better part of a year, but just haven't been able to structure it properly. And we are 90% there. And like I said, our goal is to have it wrapped up here in January and then get this pitch out to all of you in February. So I think it's going to be a really cool program. I talked about it in kind of a general nature, more details to come as we kind of get all that stuff together. Jason, just before I get into a couple other things, any other questions or comments that have come up on the chat columns?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, great.
Everybody awake?
Yeah, I know. Is this recording? Is this really on? All right, I'm going to keep moving forward. Two other things I wanted to talk about before I turn over to Ryan. One, yesterday there was a team leader email sent out across the entire platform having to deal with the recruiting numbers for 2017. So this was all of the numbers through December of 2017 on all of the experienced, total hires, separations, and the net gain for each office across the platform. Obviously, we'll be connecting with people one-on-one on some of these numbers, but I want to give a little kudos to our top 5 here, which was number 1 based on net results for offices was the Naperville office at a net gain of 12 agents with a total hire of 17, which is fantastic. So kudos and congrats to Naperville. The Valrico office that had a net gain of 11 and had an actual total partnerships of 56. The Eau Claire office that had a net gain of 10 and a total partnerships of 13. The Rockford office that had a net gain of 9 and a total partnerships of 12. And the South Bend office that had a net gain of 9 and a total partnerships of 10. So a couple things I found interesting. One, the numbers that went into these offices for the net gain and the total hires, but also it was kind of an interesting blend of offices. We had offices in Illinois, Indiana, Florida, and Wisconsin all represented in the top 5. So just goes to show it doesn't matter your geographic area, you have the ability to grow no matter where you're at. And kudos and congrats to those top 5 offices and team leaders. So thanks for the hard work in 17 on those guys. We'll reach out and have some dialogue on the rest of that as we move on here. And my last thing, and then I will shut up and turn this over to Ryan, is 2018 marks a very interesting year for Century 21 Affiliated. And it actually represents our 40-year anniversary, which I thought was kind of cool when we were looking back on some of our history. And we want to do some special things throughout this year. And I've got our marketing team and social media team working on kind of a platform for this for 2018, from things to our website to areas on social media we're going to blast out, to press releases, to some potential articles we're going to be getting out there in the real estate world, basically promoting 2018 being the 40-year anniversary of Century 21 Affiliated. And I think it's just a really great message and a great year to talk about it throughout our entire platform. Of all the growth we've had over the last 7 years, kind of culminates in a great year and a great anniversary for 40 years of being in business for Century 21 Affiliated. So I wanted to kind of just throw that out as a teaser, and stay tuned. We'll be getting details out on this to all of you on how we're going to use it, how we're going to promote it, how you guys can get the word out in your local communities. And we will be talking about this as soon as the State of Affiliate events coming up in a couple weeks. And then obviously we'll get some information out via email and host some webinars on details on all of this as well. So congrats and happy anniversary to all of you guys that are on the phone today. With that said, I will stop hurting your ears, and I'm going to turn over to Ryan for a couple updates in the operations side.
Thanks, Dan. Good morning, everybody.
Actually, we do have one question now.
Sure.
Gretchen is asking, should we wait until then to promote?
I'm assuming you're referring to the 40-year anniversary. I would just say we will get some very specific material out there on the 40-year anniversary. So if you want to talk about it in your local communities, if you want to talk about your next business meeting, by all means, it's no secret. We want to make sure people know about it. But we will also help with some simple things like some flyers we're going to be doing. We're going to do a specialty banner on the website. So we'll be putting a lot of content out there that you guys can use. But by all means, you guys can start talking about it in your communities. Okay, anything else, question-wise?
No, she just said, okay, great.
All right, cool. All right, I'm going to turn over to Ryan for some ops updates.
Good morning, everybody. I do not have a ton for you this morning, but wanted to update you on a couple things going on in the education department. We did have a bit of turnover in 2017 in terms of trying to get the right team together for the education department. We brought Monica Michelonis aboard in 2017, and she's been a fantastic hire. We're very happy to have her. She spent the last half, or the second half of 2017 living in Chicago, training with Jackie, getting up to speed on our tools and systems. Her background was more in education, like classroom education, but has really taken off and is doing great. Is kind of handling a lot of our new agent one-on-ones at this point, and been a great addition to the education department. With that, we were also able to hire an additional educational coordinator by the name of Christine Chase. That name may be familiar to some of you. Christine goes by Chris some of the time. Chris is the former team leader of a brokerage in Naperville, Illinois that we merged with this year. And Cookie is the team leader of our Naperville office, but we were able to kind of transition Chris Chase to the education team. So we're excited about that. Chris has not even started yet. She is going to start at the end of this month. January 29th will be her first day. And we're going to get her going, and we're excited about what she can do. So she lives around the Aurora area of Illinois, which strategically will allow her to kind of be close to Jackie, partnering with Jackie, learning from Jackie. She's got a very strong real estate background. She also has teaching in her work history. She's really well suited to this position, and it's something that she's passionate about in terms of education and training agents. And so we were really happy to be able to put something together with her. So with that, we transitioned Monica up to Madison. Monica is now working out of the corporate office here in Madison, and we've got Jackie and Chris in the Chicagoland, helping to cover the rest of our footprint. Jackie loves, getting to Michigan and Indiana, so geographically, we feel we're going to be fine being able to cover our footprint with having Chris aboard and just another person to kind of divide the workload up. So you will see an email come out from me welcoming Chris probably the last week here in January once she is aboard and started. But we've kind of got the team rounded out here right now for 2018 with Monica and Madison and Chris and Jackie helping out on the education side of things. So a welcome to Chris. We're excited to have her, and you'll be hearing more from the education department in coming months as they start to branch out and get into your offices with the added support they have to the department. One thing that's not on here, I am still in the process of adding an additional person to our IT team. We've been looking for someone in this Northwest Indiana market geographically that makes some sense for helping to cover our footprint. It is a challenging position to fill a little bit with all that we ask our IT people to do. They both, Jordan and Carrie do a great job covering a large footprint, covering a lot of agents and a lot of offices. So the person that we're looking for in the IT world is a little bit of a hybrid, right? They're not just a programmer. They're not just a help desk. They do a little bit of everything. So we'll get there. We appreciate your patience as I'm trying to find someone. And if anybody has any people that they think would be someone that I should speak with, by all means, please forward them along to me. The last one up here from the agenda is the February Team Leader Training. I wanted to give you guys an update on that. For those of you that don't know what that is, we had a lot of discussion in 2017 about how can we better support team leaders, how can we onboard them better, how can we get them all of the resources and partner them with all of the resources that we have available. And we really knew that we wanted to kind of do that in a way that we would really bring people together and do an in-person. So last December, just a month ago, we had our first team leader training we held up here in Madison. It's a 2-day training. We target about 15 to 20 people at the training. It starts at 10 in the morning on a Thursday, kind of goes all day, then gives the people over here to the office a chance to see the corporate office here in Madison. And then the next day we start a little earlier because everybody's on site at that point. And day 2 is really designed to connect the team leaders with all the resources that Central Services provides. So accounting and human resources, marketing, social media, events, IT. So that's the format for it. We had really very positive feedback from the first go around. I think everyone that attended was glad and felt it was worth the time and energy and effort to get up here to Madison and commit to 2 days when we know you're all busy to the training. But I mean, to a person, everybody said this was great. I'm so happy I had this. I wish I'd have had it sooner, all the rest. Our vision for this is to cycle all of our team leaders through this program in the coming quarters. The next team leader training is scheduled for February 22nd and 23rd, and I believe at this point is pretty much already filled up. We've got about 17 people scheduled to come to that training, which is sort of our Q1 of 2018, but we will run it again in Q2, Q3, and Q4, and it's really a very helpful exercise for new team leaders to get them indoctrinated to all the resources that we have available. But there were team leaders that had been with us for a while that really thought it was great for them as well, even though they may have been here for a period of time. Processes change, people change, resources change. So I think both new and experienced team leaders saw the benefit in the 2-day training. So we're excited about this. We think it's going to be a really good thing that we do moving forward. And then obviously once we cycle everybody through, as we continue to grow, it gives us an opportunity quarterly to bring new team leaders in. And I would assume once we get all the way through, if someone, wanted to go again, that wouldn't be an issue either. But we got really great feedback on it. We're excited about it. There are emails that'll come out, kind of letting you know when these trainings are coming up. We can get these dates out to you and encourage all of you to find a time, Q2, 3, or 4, to get up here and be a part of the team leader training.
I'll just add on to that a little bit. I felt like the first one we did went really well. We had some good feedback on a few things to adjust with it, but overall, the team leader base, I think, really enjoyed it. We spent the first day kind of talking high-level leadership ideas, and then the second day was diving into the details of things like the Central Services staff. The staff put together this really great binder that broke down every department and what everybody does, and it was a really great reference guide people could leave with. So I think it was great. Obviously, love to get the rest of you to the program over the next number of quarters. and certainly we want feedback. So as you guys attend that, please let us know what your feelings are, what we're doing well, and what we need to adjust with it, so we can continue to play with it over time.
Yeah.
Anything else on your?
Really about it. Yeah, no, I think we appreciated everybody that came to the first go round and appreciated their feedback, and we're gonna, take that feedback and apply it to Q1 of 2018 here, but excited to get the next round of team leader training going, so.
Let's break for a couple questions real quick, because I know there's a few came up.
Sure. There was just a couple comments of a great addition for Chris and for Monica. And then a question or a comment came back from Brenda regarding the last topic that Dan was covering for the vesting program. She just brought up the fact that Keller Williams and Prime in her local market is offering health insurance to the agents.
No, that's great, Brenda, and here would be my suggestion. Can anybody who sees that kind of offering taking place or anything like that you think is a competitive advantage, would you get the details and get it to us? And the reason I will say that is we have tried to roll out quote unquote insurance plans for agents, and I just know legally it's extremely difficult to do, if not impossible, because of 1099ers. So they might be offering some sort of discount program and wrapping it into a insurance platform. But I just know that, our hands are tied for the most part on what you can actually provide in those scenarios. And if somebody has structured an offering that is of value, I certainly want to see it. So please, Brenda, anything like that, if you can get the details and get it to us, we'd like to take a look at it.
That particular one she did share with Jerry.
Okay, great.
Brenda also said she has a white paper from NAR about insurance to Jerry that it really isn't legal.
Right.
I can tell you that I do work, this is Ryan again, I do work with our current health insurance provider and have gone to him to say, what are our options? What are you seeing in the market? And the way he came back to me was the way currently things are configured, he doesn't see how it's possible. I'm not suggesting that you're not seeing something in your market, and I'm not suggesting they're calling it one thing, and it might be that, it might be something else. But we have inquired as recently as December, and what he said is, currently the way our things are configured, it's not something that he sees how they would be able to do that. So we are asking.
Yeah, and here's the other slippery slope with any of those type of things is that blurred line that we've seen in California in multiple lawsuits of independent contractors versus actual employees. And when you have a offering like that, I think that really kind of starts sticking your toe in the water of employee over independent contractor, and there's a whole lot of legal issues that kind of tie around that. So anyway, I'm not saying that that's not being pitched out there for anybody who's seeing it. Certainly, Brenda, you obviously have got some firsthand experience. Get us the details so we know how to more or less pick it apart and look at it, and have some details that we can get back to you on.
Erica is just saying she gave information to Ruta about Indiana state law that specifically names real estate agents as independent contractors unless a document is signed by all parties stating otherwise, an IRS workaround.
Got it. Ruta, anything like that, please pass on to, I'll reach out to her on it. So, okay, great. Good discussion. I think, Ryan, anything else on the operations side?
Nope, all set.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Heather here, who always has a fun piece of closing out the 2017, moving us into 2018. And for those of you that aren't around this office much during that time frame, it is usually absolute chaos around here. Not only is it we're closing out all the end of the year stuff, people trying to sneak in any last minute transactions, whatever it is, but then we have to close everything out in the Century 21 network to make sure all of our agents get proper award criteria. Not to mention then we start closing out all of the 1099s that have to get out by a certain date. So Heather and her team are frantically working over that crazy holiday season and usually into the better part of February, making sure everything gets closed out properly. So next time you see her and that team, say thanks. I know she's got a couple updates on awards and 1099s she wants to talk about. So, Heather.
Thanks, Dan. Hi, everybody. I'll first talk about awards. There was a handful of you that reached out with a couple of your agents that were close to, a higher award level. And to my knowledge, I believe all of those, if you reached out about them, all of those, we were able to make sure all of their transactions counted and they did reach the desired award level that you were looking to get them at. We will be getting the actual final production awards report on the 23rd from Century 21, and that point is when we will start working on all the programs for the state of affiliated awards banquets. We are having obviously one in each state, so we will have a program for each awards program. And Jason Fowler will email all of you out the program before we set it to print. So we really, really need each of you to look at all of your agents, and if there is anything incorrect or you think they should be somewhere else or somebody's missing, we need it to be your responsibility to let us know. We try our best to get it all in order from the reports we're given, but you know your agents, you know what you nominated them for, you know about where their production should be. So really, if it's the day of the awards banquet and it's 11 o'clock and you come up to us and say, this is wrong, well, it's too late. It's already in print and it's in everybody's hands. And so if you can look at those when Jason sends them out and get back to us as soon as possible so we can make the changes before it's inked, be greatly, greatly appreciated.
I will just add on to Heather's comment there. Having gone through a lot of state of affiliated, this inevitably happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the day of, and somebody catches something on a program. And listen, we don't want to go into any of those with any mistakes, but we don't know what we don't know if, something's not right on there. So we really do lean on you guys a lot. We will put together everything we have on our end, but please, 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 please make sure you take the time to double check everything and let us know if there's any changes that need to be made. Because Heather's right, at the time of the award ceremony, even though we have worked some miracles in the past of getting things switched last minute when we hear about them, it's virtually impossible to make those changes, especially when it's on a program. So please, thanks.
Especially, award level numbers and categories, we want to make sure we have correct, but even, the spelling of their names. A lot of people get offended when you spell their name wrong in a program. So even if somebody's name is Alexandria and they like to be called Alex, well, let us know that because you know them personally. We don't know all of them personally. Little things like that, mean a lot to some people. So any tips you have, we'd love to hear them.
Great point. And, this is the one day a year where we really try to recognize the agents for their success. And a lot of these people are first timers that get on stage, and Heather's right. Anything we can do to make it seem more personable is really helpful. So any of those tips or thoughts is great for us.
Okay, so 1099s is always fun to talk about in January. We're working very hard to get those out. If any of your agents ask when they can expect to receive them, we are required to send them out in the mail by January 31st, and that's the only thing I'm going to tell you. Some of them will arrive before then, some of them will arrive right on the 31st. So just set the expectation that the law is we have to mail them out by the 31st, and they will be mailed out by the 31st. Other year-end things, expenses, we'd like to close out our 2017 books. We typically like to do that by the end of January, so if you haven't turned in any expenses for 2017, get them in right away so we can make sure they're booked in 2017. And I think that's all I have for year-end.
All right, we have a question from Bob Morgan. Is there a way to get stats from Century 21 Corporate for the full year on an agent that was with another Century 21 the first half of the year?
So I guess I'm a little unsure on the reasoning for this question, but if the question is you want to have an agent who joined us mid-year get production for the full year, the answer is yes, but we need MLS data showing their full year worth of production.
Not, if, it should be if they're with another Century 21, we should already have that information. It should have been transferred over.
Okay.
I believe the person that Bob is probably referring to, I did reach out to Susan, and I think we do have that information back. But Bob, if that's not the case, please reach out to me and make sure that we have that corrected. It's when we have a person coming from an independent that we would need to have the MLS sheets. But if it's another Century 21 brokerage, Century 21, yeah, they should already have that information.
Okay, good. And I know that there's been a number of people that came over from other companies, whatever, Keller Williams or an independent company, whatever. And in those cases, we have gotten MLS data, submitted it, and I think all of those are good. So just for future reference for people. Okay. Any other questions there?
Bob's saying he hasn't seen it. So Bob, if you just want to reach out to me and we can connect with Sue and make sure that we are good to go. Gretchen is asking, Gretchen, I'll actually touch base on your question in a few minutes when we go over state of affiliated stuff.
Cool. Anything else for your end, accountant?
No, good. Good.
Is there any, Heather, from your end, any changes for how they will receive 1099s, knowing we're doing our system a little different this year?
They'll still be received via U.S. mail.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you for the update. Jason, you want to jump around a little bit and get into the awards part?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go now. Okay. But yeah, Jennifer not here. I can message her. You want to let Jennifer know she can come up? All right, we are just going to come back to Jennifer in a bit. I will talk about the state of affiliated program. Just a reminder of those dates. February 1st will be Michigan at the Firekeepers Casino at 11 a.m. Indiana, February 2nd at the Blue Chip Casino at 11 a.m. Illinois on February 8th at Harrah's in Joliet at 11 a.m. Wisconsin is February 9th at the Monona Terrace, 4:30 p.m. And then wrapping it up will be Florida on February 15th at the Tampa Palms Golf and Country Club at 9:30 a.m. As Heather had mentioned before, we'll be getting the final numbers next week. We can't really put together the programs until we have those final numbers. And in the past, we had not sent those programs out to the team leaders to review because we do like to keep this somewhat of excitement and surprise for the agents when they're at state of affiliated. I know many of them will already know that they're going to be getting an award anyway. So when we do send those out, we ask that you don't share that with your office. We'd like them to see it for the first time at state of affiliated. But when you do receive that, as Heather had mentioned before, it is a really quick turnaround. Because there's 5 of these, there's 5 different programs, and to help minimize the errors, we have just one person, being me, type them up. So that's a lot to do in a short amount of time. So I'm just really asking you, begging you to take a look at those as soon as you get them. Let me know of any changes, and I'm happy to make those. Also,
on that note, though, Jason, do you know exactly when you plan on getting them in the hands of the team leaders and what turnaround you need?
What day is the 23rd?
So the 23rd is Tuesday.
Or Friday, maybe?
So I will try to be ambitious and try to do at least one program a day, and I'll do it by order. So Michigan will be the first one to go out. Michigan's actually going to be smaller, so I could probably do Michigan and Indiana on one day. The next day I'll do Illinois, the next day Wisconsin, and then finally Florida.
And starting on the 23rd?
Starting on the 23rd, if I can get those numbers right away in the morning. But you know, it all depends on when we actually get those numbers in hand. But
I guess why I'm throwing this out is the 23rd is next Tuesday. So in theory, Jason will be blasting these out between next Tuesday and next Friday, and making sure all of you guys just are paying attention to your emails, making sure as soon as you get them, you have a chance to go through them and check them, and then get them back to Jason kind of ASAP. So even by like Monday, the next Monday, kind of having that.
Yep.
So that would be ideal, guys. Please make sure you're on top of that. Mark your calendars now that those will be coming out between the 23rd and the 25th, 6th, and then we need a quick turnaround on getting them all back in.
All right, and then the other thing that I've done is I pulled all the RSVP lists for each state and then broke it down by office, and I'm finishing sending those out today to your admins. Right now, the numbers are very low for attendees at State Affiliated, which is kind of normal at this time. So we just need to remind the agents to go in an RSVP, have your admins pick up the phone and call the agent if they've said no or if they haven't responded. Let them know that it's important to be there, that this is really an event for them to celebrate their success. It helps with retention. If you want to bring a recruit, that's great. We just need to know that. Just going back to State Affiliated in Indiana last year, for those of you that are there, it all worked out, but it could have been a lot smoother if we had just gotten those numbers back and made sure that we had a spot for everybody beforehand. That is really all I have for you on State Affiliated. I'll just go back to the dates and what they are, how they're going to be. For Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Florida, they are going to be brunch events, and we will just do a very quick welcome at the beginning. We'll have everybody take their seats, and we'll do the meal, and then right after the meal, we'll go right into the awards banquet, and then we are inviting the agents to stick around for an hour or so to have a cocktail if they'd like. I know Florida will be a little early, but it's like a vacation down there anyway. And then for Wisconsin, we are switching it up this year. Wisconsin is actually going to be the awards as soon as they walk in the door at 4:30. And then we're hoping to be done with the awards portion by 6 o'clock. And then we're inviting the agents to have a guest or significant other join them at 6 o'clock, and we will have cocktails and hors d'oeuvres until 8 o'clock.
So the only thing I'm going to jump on with that is last year, we had 4 or 5 of these, and they all, range on size and award winners and all of that. Some went very smooth, and we kept them on track. I'll just reference Wisconsin ran long, so we really want to set the expectation of a hard start when we start these and a hard finish when we're done with them. And I know that's a difficult thing sometimes when this is ebb and flowing and you got people coming on stage. Our team will be meeting on this to make sure that we set the program appropriately so we know we can keep everything on track. But we don't want to run long for the very fact that we know people have stuff after this or are meeting people or whatever it might be. So our goal is to make sure everything stays on schedule as best as possible. We also need your help with that the day of, making sure your team's organized, your team gets there on time, your team kind of knows when they're going up to get awards. So please help us help you on all of that. And believe me, we're dedicated to make sure we keep this on track.
And then the last thing that I just remembered I wanted to touch base on is I sent out an email asking for you to submit blurbs or just a quick comment about your award winners and get those over to me by tomorrow. I know that I'm waiting on some of those, and if you could just do your best to get that over to me, that would be greatly appreciated. I know that we don't have final numbers yet, and they're not going to be until next week, but you should have a good idea of who your award winners are and what levels they're going to be at. But if you do have any major questions, feel free to reach out to myself. I think Heather can also help as well. Thanks, Heather.
I also know last year we had, I think it was Centurion level and higher, team leaders come up and give, say those words about their producers. I think over this next week, as we start hammering through the program and find out what the actual award winners are going to be, we're going to make some decisions on that, whether we will engage with you to come up on stage to say that, or we have the MC kind of read that off. So we're working through that. Just bear with us on it. Honestly, it depends on how many award winners we have and how quick we can keep that program to. You know, this is always a trick, right? It's how do you spend enough time so people feel good about receiving this award? Because a lot of these people, this is the biggest day of the year for them, or some their first award they've ever received. So we want to make sure it's special and we take the time. Yet on the same, you know, notion, we don't want it to run long and people get frustrated with that. So I think it's believe me, it's an art more than a science, and just bear with us on it, and we'll be working on that program, and we'll stay in communication.
Matt Ridoff made the comment that the agents like the pictures with leadership in front of the affiliated backdrop, and we will be doing that again this year at each location. And
thanks for that, Matt. We do think that the flow of at least getting people off stage is kind of nice to do the award on stage, everybody claps, and then kind of that easy exit so they can take a photo, both because they get the photo and it's kind of cool, but also it's just a natural progression to get people off stage. Works out pretty well. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, and this is kind of goes with rankings. Does affiliated turn in the agent numbers to real trends for the rankings? I know that being able to advertise being ranked in the top 1% of agents in America each year has been great for advertising while is at Remax.
I think, well, and Jason, you can add to this, but I think Real Trends actually gets all of that data from the MLS or NAR, not from the brand or us. I know we're requested to submit our company-wide data every year for company rankings, but for agent rankings, I think that all comes from either NAR or from the MLS. I don't think we submit those.
Right. Correct.
So, and we don't have much control over that, unfortunately.
And then we have one additional question from Jane regarding the blurbs. She's asking, do we need these blurbs for Centurion and on up? We had sent out that we wanted for all award winners. And I know it's kind of time consuming for some of it. I don't necessarily know we're going to use all of the blurbs, and we will be shortening them depending on how many award winners there are and how we need to get the program itself to flow. You know, in some states we might be able to do blurbs for every single person, and other states, you know, we'll have to cut that back. But we don't know what we don't know right now, so we'd rather be over-prepared than scrambling at the last minute.
My guess is Wisconsin and Illinois, we're only going to have time for Centurion and Greater just based on sheer award winners and numbers. My guess in Michigan, Florida, and Indiana, we might be able to go beyond that. Wouldn't you say that's probably true?
Yeah, that's probably true.
So if you're in Michigan, Indiana, Florida, please, for all your award winners, that'd be great. Wisconsin, Indiana, probably just Centurion and higher.
Wisconsin and Illinois.
Sorry, Wisconsin and Illinois, only Centurion and higher, just based on sheer numbers. Nobody wants to sit through a 4-hour awards banquet, unfortunately.
Especially when there's cocktails afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, anything else? State of affiliated?
Nope, we are good.
Appreciate all the help on this in advance. It is a really fun event. It's our one time really to recognize the agents. So let's have some fun with it. And I would just last push, please talk to your agents about this. Make sure you talk about it in your business meetings. Make sure you're blasting out any communication you do and your admins are getting the sign-up sheets. We want to get as many people as we can to the awards banquets. They're going to be great from an individual perspective, but also great from a company being able to talk about the great year that we had in 2017. So please make a push. Okay, I think that's everything on events. Let's jump back up to relocation. We've got Jennifer Wagner jumped in here and give us a quick update on relocation.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I don't really have any year-to-date numbers for our Platinum Awards just yet. Those aren't out, and usually they come in probably around the first or second week of February to give us the official. I can say fairly confidently that we did get a Platinum again in our AFF anagram, which again is our Wisconsin anagram, and fairly confident that Florida also got a Platinum again this year. So congratulations to both of them. The other ones we're kind of walking the line on those, so keeping our fingers crossed. I'm fairly certain Appleton, again, we might have gotten one in that. And our Michigan, unfortunately, we don't have enough transactions to put in the qualifiers to get some of the points on that, so I'm not sure if we were even really eligible for Michigan. And Chicago, like I said, we're kind of walking the line on that one, so let's everybody keep our fingers crossed. Regarding broker to brokers, I did send out an email to everyone on Wednesday, January 10th. So if you don't know what email I'm talking about, if you could possibly go back to your emails on January 10th and see the email. There was a bunch of attachments to it. Along with that, you should have received your posters. We put those in the mail, I think, the beginning of last week, and I know I've talked to a couple TLs who have already received those posters. And they're the Centurion type poster that we were asking that you just put in your office meeting. And then every time you have your, somebody has a closing, a broker to broker that closed, that you have that agent kind of make a big deal about it, have them come up and, you know, fill in the Centurion and have your goal on the top. There's a place on the left-hand side where you can put your actual goal. So in that initial email that I sent out on January 10th, your office goal was in there on one of the attachments. It also included some ideas just for sources of finding to pass out to your agents of where to find, you know, broker to broker. A lot of times we'll hear that, well, my clients aren't moving out. I don't have clients that move out of the area. And so this is just some others to kind of think outside the box a little bit. It's not just your current customers, it's your friends, it's your families, it's your, you know, daughter's soccer coach who's, you know, somebody is moving. So it's just kind of thinking of different ideas. So if you could do that. Also, there was the broker to broker policy. And I know it's kind of confusing, but we did put it out in a policy, and that was in that email too. So if you wouldn't mind at your office meeting that you're going to be discussing this, print that off and give that to them. There is also in there an office meeting agenda, which kind of explains everything. We did this last year also. We're asking that you, once you have that meeting, and we're giving you through, because we got it out a little bit late, so we're giving you through January and actually February. So we are asking that once you have your office meeting, sign that form with the date that your office meeting was, and then get that back to us. So please don't return it until you actually have the office meeting. But we do need that back by February 28th, stating that you've had the office meeting, and then that will make you eligible to receive the $1,000 year-end bonus at the end of the year if you did reach your office goal. So just want to make it that we do need that signed and back by February 28th for you to be eligible for that $1,000 bonus. So just want to make sure that I don't want anybody to be upset if come this time next year that they reached their office goal, but unfortunately we didn't get that back. So just making sure that everybody understands that. Also in there was a flyer for the Friends and Family contest that we're continuing the same thing, and I put a flyer in there. Emily helped make up a cute little flyer, so if you could give that to all the agents at the office meeting to kind of keep it top of mind, and then maybe even print them off and kind of post them around the office so people don't forget. And the contest once again is for the most closed, $3,000, second $2,000, and third place will be $1,000. And it doesn't take a lot. Our top prize, if you read the email, our top prize for $3,000 closed on 5 outgoing referrals, and then there was a 3-way tie actually for the next, which were 3 closed. So if somebody can, you know, close 3 or 4 referrals, there's a good chance that they could win some money. So making that, sometimes people might think that they have to close on a huge number, and they really don't. So making that a point to them also. Other than that, I think that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Nope, there is not.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks Jennifer. And I guess the other last thing I'll just throw into the Relo side to wrap that up is it was a good year for us overall across the platform, and we want to have another strong year in 18. So please make sure you're kind of top mind awareness of always looking at your team and what we're doing to continue to grow and build people on the Relo division. So thanks.
All right, we just have one question we are going to jump back to for State of Affiliated. And it was, the question was, please clarify, are less than Centurion Award winners have expectations that they'll be on stage like before? Did did we change something? And no, we didn't change anything. The award winners will all be on stage. It's what we need to work out with is if we're going to do a blurb for each award winner, or if we're going to do Masters up or Centurion up. And it'll also depend on if we're going to have the MC read some of those, or if we're going to invite the team leaders on stage. Again, it goes back to how many award winners we have and how long we think the program is going to end up being. So I appreciate you sending those in. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Cool. All right. We have gotten through a lot of our content. We still have Monica McKillop joining us here, and she's going to be talking about a few things, specifically with status of change forms. So with that said, I will turn over to Monica.
Thanks, everyone. Hi, good morning. Jason, do you have my email? No, that's okay. So I am going to talk about status change forms today, and on January 2nd, through Group Team Leader, you guys received an email about the 2018 payroll calendars, and in there was a little bit of an extra for instructions on payroll status changes. So I just wanted to call to your attention this email specifically because I know that you guys get overwhelmed with emails, and from an HR payroll side of things, this is an important email for you guys to read through and also understand. So, yeah. So Jason just threw up on the screen for me the email that went out. The attachments in there are 2 calendars for 2018. You don't have to open those up, Jason. Just, okay. This is great. One of them actually spells out pretty much what that graphic is of our pay period. So, for example, the current pay period that we're in started this past Sunday, which was January 14th, and it wraps next week Saturday, which is the 27th. So those 2 weeks will be paid out on February 2nd. And you're going, okay, well, why is that really important? It's important from an HR payroll perspective as you guys look to make changes to staff. This could be someone's moving from part-time to full-time status. This could be that you're giving someone a merit or a length of service increase. All of those types of changes need to be effective the start of a pay period. And that calendar that you have up in front of you really does help you establish what you need to fill out. So, for example, if someone was getting a 50-cent pay increase and it's supposed to be effective this pay period, you would fill out a status change form effective 1/14/18 and submit it to me, Human Resources, for review. If there's questions, if we have details that are missing, I take care of making sure that payroll has everything they need, so they are simply keying the information into the system versus trying to reach out to you and get those unknowns answered. The payroll status change form is available in online office if you search by status change. It does come up. Use the version that was posted by me. So if you find one that's posted by someone else, that's not the version that you want to use. So find the one that was posted by me. And then the second calendar that's in this email is just a 12-month view. It's colorful. It has pink for paid days, and then has blue for company paid holidays, and that is for anyone who is in a full-time status. So just wanted you guys to be aware that those calendars are available to you, are extremely helpful, and they were also sent out to your staff on the same day. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, again, just wanted to call attention to the email itself.
Cool. That was it. Easy enough.
Easy peasy.
All right. Any questions on any of that? Okay. While I have Heather still in the room, anything else on accounting? Anything else from your end?
Nope, I think I'm good.
Jason, any other last tidbits on stuff?
Actually, there's another question. It looks like it's going to be for Monica. What about changes to W-4s? Is that you?
If you're making a change to your W-4, you can email that to either Deanna Haugen or myself, and we'll make sure that gets changed. You have an option to change both your federal and state taxes, so if you want them to be different, you'll need to fill out both forms. Otherwise, if you just do the W-4, we'll apply that to both state and federal.
Okay. Well, we have covered everything on the agenda. One thing I've got on my just list here, Jason, have we sent out the 2018 schedule for all webinars and all that to everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
And I will send it out again in this recap.
Okay. So please, if you haven't, take a look at that email, mark your calendar for the rest of the leadership schedule for 2018. That schedule should include the webinars. It should include the team leader and staff retreat, should include the agent rally. I think we got all of those big numbers down on the calendar. Just nice to have them so you've got them in your calendar for all of 2018. I guess that's everything that we have today. State of Affiliated is right around the corner. We've got a couple weeks away before the first one, which is going to be in Michigan. I know I'll be making the road trip out there and then hitting Indiana on the way back. And then we've got the week after that, Thursday for Illinois, and then Friday, Wisconsin. And then I think a couple weeks and the Florida one will be there. So I will be at all of the State of Affiliated events this year. Really looking forward to spending time with all of you and all of the agents and award winners. It's always a fun time of year. So start prepping for it. And with that said, if there's no more questions that have come through on the chat column, we will end this early and let you guys get back to your busy schedule. So appreciate all of you taking the time. We will send a recap out on all of this. And if there's anything you want to address with me directly, please feel free to reach out to me offline. And have a great week, everyone, and a great start to 2018. Thanks.